Father, what is this?
It's Indies, son. God damn Indies.
What's an indie?
Only the most unruliest, God-forsaken bunch of miscreants and misanthropes there has ever been.
Who brought them here?
I don't know, son. But if we let them in, they will surely be taking over.
Well, Father, you know what we should do?
Yes, son. We have no choice. We cannot let them take over our formulaic, automatonic way of life.
But Father, it feels so freeing.
Liberating. No, not you. No, son, not you. Come on, Father. Don't you know? No. It's always time to go GoIndieNow.
Now to unveil our favorites for the Indie Dozen of books for 2023. Here's your host, Joe Compton. Hello, everybody. Yes, welcome to the Indie Dozen. It is myself on a solo run today to talk to you about my 12 favorite books of 2023, indie-wise, and to mention some honorable mentions. I hope you all are ready for... Oh, sorry. I had Instagram running in the background. I apologize. Amateur on my part, but anyway, live as always, doing the live thing. Anyway, I am Joe Compton. Thank you so much for joining us here at GoIndieNow. We really appreciate it. If this is your first time here, please like, subscribe, do all the wonderful things that you do. We really appreciate it. And I'm so happy to see a bunch of people here. Anita's here. Tiffany's here. Tiffany, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad everybody's here, but especially for this next part, you'll actually, you know what? I'm sorry, hang on just a second. I messed up. But I wanted to mention before I get into my top 12, some honorable mentions for the year, and one of which I don't have on the graphic. I just left it off, and I apologize for that. But hang on, I can actually fix that right now. Again, live, right? So one of my honorable mentions that I will bring up here is the aforementioned Tiffany Vegas George's Curse. I read this book. It's really great. If you're into like mythology and Norse mythology, and you like a little romance with your Norse mythology, this is a really interesting book. It's very similar to one of my favorite movies of all time, which is called The Fountain by Darren Aronofsky, and it's basically that love conquers all and it travels time, even if you anger the gods. It was a really, really well done romance book. I'm not a big romance guy, but very interesting. The setup, it goes to dual perspectives, which I really enjoy. Of course, I'm going to enjoy that, having written that myself. But it's a very cool, interesting take on things as far as Norse mythology goes. So if you're a Norse mythology person, I would definitely check it out. It's certainly one of my honorable mentions. And I apologize, I didn't have it on the honorable mentions graphic, which I'm pulling up now. Just an oversight on my part. I apologize for that, Tiffany. But yeah, that's a great book. And then, so my honorable mentions for 2023, and another person who joined us who just serendipitously came aboard, Juliet Rose, who says she loves The Fountain. I do too, yes. And it's great to have you, Juliet, because obviously you can see that amongst the honorable mentions are two of your books for this year. one of which is a horror novella called Stitched Together, which I really, really enjoyed. This is a neat little book that kind of ties everything. It has a little bit of interesting ties together. I really enjoyed like the quotes at the beginning of each story that kind of bring it all together. Uh, and Juliet was my discovery of 2023 because I met her earlier in the year when we were doing the multiverse thing, thanks to Multiverse, and then of course I met her in person at Multiverse, and she's been on a lot of our shows, and so she's not a rookie, so I won't say rookie of the year, but newcomer of the year for sure for me. I read four of her books this year, and obviously two of which I'm mentioning here. The other one being Catch the Earth, which I gotta say, I have never read a plane crash novel that did it impeccably. I mean, the first half of this book, the plane crash, and then the subsequent chasing and the things that go on amongst with Audra and Luke, the two protagonists in this novel, is some of the best writing I've read all year. I really love the first half of this book. I'm not a big, as I mentioned before, I'm not a big romance guy. So the second half is it's almost like two books in one, where you have this plane crash, and then you have, which is kind of this adventure, chase the thing going on, and I won't spoil why there's a chase going on and everything like that. But it's basically people escaping their lives and kind of fighting each other. And then the second part is them, trying to live the life that they've discovered with one another. And, obviously there's some loose ends that had to be tied together, which I enjoyed that aspect of it. But, when they move on past the plane crash, it's takes on a different book on its own. So it's just not my cup of tea in that respect. But I gotta say that plane crash stuff, I was riveted. That I ripped through that with just unbelievable ease, and it was just so well done. It's so well written. I mean, you could see what was going on and the steps that Juliet takes through this, but I mean, you just go, yeah, that's right. It's perfect. It was really well done. So I really enjoyed that. And then another person I discovered this year in Ray Nichols. I read Until Death, which is this kind of paranormal investigation story that kind of takes a little bit of a twist and a turn. It kind of has some, unique paranormal ties to it. Very interesting ending. I really love how we get to the end in this book. I really love how, it kind of has this interesting little thing that happens at the beginning that kind of ties into the end. And it's about two paranormal investigators and trying to kind of unspook a town, so to speak. And it's really great. It's really well done. I really love the carnival scenes in this book, which of course I'm writing a carnival novella, so it kind of rang true to me. Very interesting, and it's kind of cool how you can see the little twists and turns that it takes. So it was one of my honorable mentions this year for sure. And then Language of Skeptics, Dear Sean Letters, #1 by S.M. Hillman. Quick read, but I'm a sucker for collections, as you can see, stitched together on this list as well. And this is cool. It's kind of a sci-fi horror collection. It starts off, I mean, if you read the first paragraph or the first sentence in this book and you're not like hooked by it, then this book's probably not going to be for you. But I love the sarcasm in this book. I love how it kind of flows one story into the next. Sean does a really good job of maneuvering all of that aspect of it for me. I wish it was a little bit more tied together, but otherwise there's a couple really, really great stories. A road trip story in here, and then the first story, which is an interesting take on the serial killer in space genre. I don't know if that's a genre. We're going to make it a genre from here on out, but it's really great. So those are my honorable mentions. Juliet Rose's Catch the Earth, Stitched Together, and then Until Death by Ray Nichols, and S.N. Hillman's Language of Skeptics. So real excited to bring you those books. I hope you all check those out. I'll put the links in the description. And yeah, I think these are really great books in what was a really, really great year for me reading wise. I really enjoyed what I absorbed. I absorbed a lot of it toward the latter part of the year, which I'm trying to avoid, but sometimes you just can't avoid that. But I'm glad I spent the time to read a lot more this year, and it shows because my list is very diverse, and I'm very I just was very blown away. I mean, the writing that you all have done this year is just stellar, and I am just in awe of each and every one of you who put something out this year. It's really amazing. So, without further ado, my number 12 on my indie dozen for 2023 is a little ditty called Fade to Black. It is the Fractured Fae series, book number 2 by Sarah J. Sover. And I will say I did not read the first book, which I am now definitely going to do, obviously, before I read this book. So I will say that while I saw where I might have been lost a little bit, you can pick it up if you just key in on it. You can pick up what the first book was about a little bit through this book, so you don't need to read the first book to get into the second book. I'm sure it would be helpful for some of the character backgrounds, and there is a certain thing that happens in the first book that is referenced a lot here in the second book that I just, and I didn't need to read the book to understand, but I'm sure the context would have helped me, and the emotion of that would have helped me as well. This is a great little book. It's basically about Faye coming into their own and being challenged, and it takes a nice little interesting twist at the end. What I really love about the way Sarah writes this is that she's got two very strong female protagonists in this book that are going on separate quests that are to kind of align each other, and they're two estranged lovers for the most part, or friends, partners. They run an agency together, a private investigation agency together, and they've kind of been estranged at the beginning, and it's about them kind of finding each other, but finding each other within themselves as well. So this is very interesting, how this has like this neat little introspective to it, while it also delves into that relationship and moves that relationship forward. It's I really enjoy. Tiffany says she loves the cover. I really enjoyed how this moves along. If you're a fan of like Faye and female protagonists, being that, and this has a little like intrigue and mystery to it, along with some adventure and some neat things that happen. This is I think you would really enjoy this book and this series. So congratulations to Sarah. This is really great. I mean, her writing, you can see like, I love her little, I love how like this book has kind of like this innocent flavor to it, but it's not innocent at all. So I love that aspect of it too. So it's very interesting writing, and I really enjoyed this book a lot. My number 11 indie book on my indie dozen for 2023 is Bobby Nash's series Snow, and this is his book Snow Hunt. I have read a couple of the Snow books before. Obviously, these again are standalone, adventures. They're kind of like James Bond ish, where you knowing the context of the characters and some backstory helps. But honestly, you could pick up any of these books in any of this series, and it's a different adventure for Snow every time. Snow is this ex-military guy who kind of runs his own security company with his father and his brother, and he gets brought on by an ex colonel of his who needs him to help protect a big meeting within the Atlanta area where there is a bomber who is an expert at bombing things, and they have to kind of solve who that is and figure all that out. I love how we get a lot of perspective from the criminal aspect of this book as well. Excuse me. Um, we get a lot of the insight of the criminal mind in this book, which is really cool. I mean, I just love this is kind of like if you like Lethal Weapon, if you like just like buddy cop movies or like cop movies from the 80s, action movies from the 80s. Snow is along that vein, and he's very well defined as a character. And this book really doesn't delve too much into Snow and his relationships. It's really about you get to see how clever he is and how he devises things and the team he puts together is really cool and how that all comes together and who he trusts and who he doesn't trust. Very cool, very nice adventure. It wraps up very nicely, and I look forward to reading more of these books. I really, really did enjoy this one tremendously. I think this is where I think Bobby is starting to has found his character. He's also involving other characters in other series in this book. Just one that I can think of. Sorry, everybody. I'm just getting over a little bit of a sinus thing, but so I'm gonna cough and I apologize. But I'm all alone today, so I can't just mute myself and go off screen. So you just have to deal with it. I apologize. Anyway, so yeah, this is really this is I think 8 or 9 in the series, maybe even 10. But you can see how well he knows how to pace these stories and put these stories together. It's really well done. And like I said, I look forward to more Snow adventures in the future. My number 10 indie book of the indie dozen for 2023 is a nice little ditty called I would say it's YA, maybe a little bit. I'm not sure if AJ would classify it as YA. But AJ Hartley's Hideki Smith Demon Queller. This is an origin story of sorts of two members of a Japanese family who have discovered that they have a certain gift that they must utilize to help create, balance in the world that they actually live in. And it's two kids dealing with all of this that they've just been kind of dealt, this hand they've been dealt, and they have no choice, and it pushes them to do things that they that normally they wouldn't otherwise have to deal with as kids, in high school. And Juliet Rose says, such a great book. I felt like it could have been YA. However, adults would love it too. Yeah, I feel the same. There is a little colorful language in here, but it's really from the kids' perspectives. So in that respect, I think it's kind of YA. What I really loved about what AJ does here, he's an exceptional writer in the fact that he doesn't hit you over the head with stuff that you wouldn't understand within this culture, but really delves deep into the culture aspect of this book. And I love learning about the logistics of culture and some of the words I recognize because I spent a year in Japan, a year and a half actually in Okinawa and some mainland time, and so I recognized a lot of the words in here and a lot of things. There's a lot of ghost tours in Okinawa, so I recognized a lot of the supernatural elements of it. But this is really cool. I mean, this is kind of very similar to the story um, of the last Ghostbusters movie, but much better written. So it's really good book. It flows really naturally, and I just love these two kids. I will say Hideki bothered me from time to time. Just he whines a little bit much for me. It's like, but I did, or Caleb, I should say. But it's really cool how they all kind of find their way, and it's at the end of the day, it's a story about family kind of finding itself and accepting who they are and what they need to do. And so it's a very interesting, well done well written book, and I really enjoyed it. So that is my number 10. My number 9 indie book of the Indie Dozen for 2023 is another author who I'm friends with, and I really did not expect what I got here. October K. Santorelli's City of Day is one of these like just beautifully crafted ideas that is got some supernatural elements, some fantastical elements, and kind of takes place in kind of like this um medievalish kind of period of time, and it's very what I really love is the attention to detail that October spends on this, because there are some aspects in here that you have to kind of discover and figure out, and when you do that, the clues and all the elements that are here come together so amazingly. um and it's just Tiffany says, love this book, new cover is great. Yeah, new covers, this is my cover of the year too, by the way. I just think it was gorgeous. When Toby showed it to me, I was blown away by it. But I was more blown away by the writing of this book. Uh, I really, Thistlin is a character that I'm really, and I believe it's Mila. If I'm saying that wrong, Toby, I apologize. But the two protagonists of this book um, uh, really do uh, give you a great insight. And again, another dual perspective book where it's written in the two perspectives. And I love the thoughts that come in this book. I think you all have everybody out there who is on this list has captured the idea of internal monologues so brilliantly. This one is especially really good at that. I really love hearing their thoughts and kind of mixing that in with what's actually happening on the surface, where people aren't hearing the thoughts, but things are kind of aligning with the thoughts, which I thought was just a clever little device. Um, this stylistically is one of my favorites of the year. I really really enjoyed it, and I really think that October Santorelli has incredible knack for creating characters that have depth and issues, and just are flawed, but they're trying to find within themselves something. And I love that searching, along with this incredible adventure and this mystery about certain supernatural elements that are going on within this city. It's very good. I check it out. City of Day. That is my number 9 indie book of the Indie Dozen. My number 8 should be no surprise if you know me. This series has appeared on my list before, and there was no way that I was going to do a list in which Howard Marsh and Bob Magoo released a Howard Marsh novel. Calling the Devil Partner is my number 8 indie book of the Indie Dozen. Howard Marsh is one of my favorite characters to watch get tortured, and boy, does he get tortured here! And he gets tortured by two elements that I think none of us would ever think to get tortured by: his father and the devil. And I'm not going to say if they're the same thing, but man, I don't know which would be worse, to be honest with you. Black Thomas Marsh, or Black Tom as he's called, is one of those interesting characters that you learn a lot about here in this book. And of course, then he takes a ride with the devil, which is a very interesting road trip aspect of the second part of this book. This is really cool. This really kind of what I love about this book in particular that is different from all the other Howard Marshes is this is setting up. You can see where the means to an end is here in this book. And I love that this book sets that up. And which is unusual, because these Howard Marsh stories, they can all be standalones for the most part, because they're just little vignette stories that are put together in a collection for each book that kind of mirror one another. They each have Lily. But what 6 does it. It takes a little pieces, tiny, tiny pieces of each of the first 5 and sprinkles them in there. So you can see how this is kind of building on top of each other, which I think is brilliant. And I really, really enjoyed that aspect of this. And of course, meeting Black Tom and learning more about Black Tom, I think is just an incredible, incredible character that I would love to punch in the face, to be honest with you. But Howard Marsh gets tortured through this book. This is typical Howard Marsh fun. Definitely well written, nice satirical material here. I love how Bob mixes in his humor in this. So this is a really well done book. It is my number 7. My number 6 indie dozen book of, or actually that was my number 8. My number 7 indie book, dozen book of the indie dozen of 2023 is Blue Flames by Madeline Dale. Again, no surprise here. I'm a real fan of this series. I'm a real fan of Ember, the protagonist in this series, and this book in particular has one of my favorite things of any book that is this year, and that is this book. Like the first book ended on kind of a cliffhanger. It wasn't a cliffhanger, but it was kind of like a gung ho, let's go now kind of thing. And the second book doesn't pick up right where that left off. Instead, what it does is it kind of takes that part of it and gives you the aftermath of what happened and moves you into a new adventure. So, and the other thing about this book that I think is very cool, it's kind of like Empire Strikes Back, right? When at the end of the first one, you kind of get this sense that something's going to happen, and then you're in the snowbanks, and something new is going on, right? But everybody's kind of evolved, and that's the cool thing about this is Blue Flames really takes on not just Ember, but all of the characters have something that happens to them that kind of moves them forward in the storylines and pushes them forward. And I like that about this. I like that it's not just centrally focused on Ember, which this book is mainly about Ember and her ascent into into hell. Um, I don't know if that's a spoiler or not, but basically Ember has a destiny, and she's starting to fulfill her destiny in this book a little bit more. Although there's still things that she has to work out, and there is, again, as I've said numerous times, if you've known me and you've watched our shows, um, this book ruins the gym for me forever, with a raunchy sex scene in the gym. I won't go into graphic details, but if you've ever been on a weight bench, you'll never look at a weight bench again the same way. I'm just saying. All right. Blue Flames is my number 7. Really great book. I love that it's not just romance though. There's a nice little adventure going on in here, and I think it's really one of the best sequels I've read, and how it gets from point A to point B to point C, and I really, really enjoyed that aspect of it. So that's my number 7. My number 6 indie book of my indie dozens is probably one of my favorite nods to my personality in a lot of ways, which is funny because it's about fae and supernaturals, but it's done in such a clever way. It's called Never Steal from Dragons by Patrick Duggan. It is in the first book in the Pixie Punk series, which I'm looking forward to absorbing as he reveals more of these, because this is a supernatural fake creatures tale told in the manner of The Usual Suspects, i.e. Ocean's 11. And it's a very interesting tale where this dragon, Ensep, has hired a pixie to kind of put a team together to pull off a heist of something that's very important. And of course, there's a lot of things that go on, some double crossing, some interesting things. What I really love about, I'm a big fan of The Usual Suspects, huge fan of The Usual Suspects, Ocean 11, and movies like that. And what I love about those movies is how clever they're guised. and how much they show without showing you, and how much, if you just pay attention to the little details, it is so intriguing and so interesting. And Patrick really, really captures this tenfold here. Um, I love how some of the chapters are really short, and some of them are really long, and he kind of mixes the two, and he gives you each origin of each character, kind of like how The Usual Suspect starts, where you get introduced to each criminal and the motivations behind why they're doing what they're doing, and then the whole coming together of the team and watching the team kind of develop a chemistry and figure things out and kind of push forward, and then how are they going to get themselves out of the mess that they've created, that has been created here. It's very clever, very interesting. I love it. I love how he kind of leaves it for, hey, we got more to go, right? Let's see what we can do next, kind of thing. And I love that. This is a great caper book, on top of everything else. And if you like orcs and pixies and dragons and seeing dragons in suits and interesting things, a lot of funniness in this book, a little bit of humor, that kind of 80s, again, an action adventure humor, that's kind of mixed in here. But it's just so clever, the way that things are worded and put, and the clues are kind of sprinkled throughout, and kind of you see the thought processes of the team and how they gel, and what strengths each person has. Very well done. I really enjoyed this book a lot, and it is my number 6 indie book of the Indie Dozen. Now, if you watch This Year in Indies, you've seen the top 5 already. You know what my top 5 is, because I unveiled those in that show. So I won't go into incredible detail with the top 5, since you can go back and watch those shows. But just to kind of give you, just to round this out and make it whole, my top 5 of the 2023 Indie Dozen were Southern Sawad by Bob Magoo, which is a Southern Gothic collection of short stories that kind of mirror one another and kind of bring forth a little bit more of Jubal County, which is where Howard Marsh books take place, and kind of give you some fringes of that and some insights to that. Um, some of it's horror, some of it's supernatural, some of it's fantastical. All of it is interesting and very diverse. And I just love kind of how we get to see a little bit of a darker side to Bob, even though there is some like Bob humor in here. Uh, this is a really straightforward book for a Bob Magoo book. If you're used to the way that Bob talks and how he, you know, has a lot of humor in the Howard Marsh books, this is not that, but it has a little bit of elements in there, and there is some nods to Howard Marsh in this collection as well. I enjoyed this tremendously. My number 4 was Witch Magic from J.D. Blackrose, which I really, really, um, just thought was an amazing, amazing book. Continues the Summoner's Mark series, where Gregory Adamos, one of the banes of Beck's existence, Bex is the lead character, kind of needs to do something that kind of sets things in motion, and of course, sets everything on fire. And Bex has to be the one to put out the fire, and it's very interesting, all the little aspects of it. This book, I will say, is not as standalone as the others would be. I would highly, highly, especially recommend um, reading at least Fae Crossed, if not Demon Kissed, and Hellsbound is the third book, and I think all of them have merits here, but the second book is really Fae Crossed is really, really referenced hard in this book. So if you want to get the references, if you want to get the internal model, I definitely recommend reading that book first and then getting into Wish Magic. But this is the best of the series in terms of written wise. I think JD really knows her characters here. She really knows how to put them in situations and what they're about, and challenges them at the same right. So I think this was a really, really well done whole tale. Summer's Blood was my number 3. Sarah T. Bond. This is a book, an intro of about again, Fae and that world, but told from the perspective of the bar that kind of is the place where they all hang out, and why it's important to the landscape of the two worlds. And Shaban is a character that I really, really love. I think, boy, she's probably most of need of a hug of anybody in this list here, and she's great. I love how Sarah kind of gives you this interesting little mystery wrapped in this kind of puzzle that's very interesting, but also gives you this character kind of having to deal with all of it and how much it puts on her shoulders. And it's, again, another book where the dragon is very interesting in. Definitely check that out. Summer's Blood is my number 2 was Tourist Trapped by J.B. Velasquez, which is I want to say, he says it's science fiction. I want to say it's more like a fantastical. If you've ever seen Vanilla Sky or uh, movies like that, where there's kind of this kind of surrealistic, just kind of ethereal world element to it. It's basically about people kind of being stuck in um, shoot, how do I say it? I'm trying to say the word and I can't. It's not coming. Purgatory. There you go. It's kind of about interesting. It's funny. It's reverent. And it kind of has this little mystery wrapped in it as well. Was my number 2, and my number 1 book, again, should be no surprise to anybody who knows me. I've been talking about this series forever. The first book is one of my all-time favorite books of all time, and the series is probably my favorite series of all time. It's Star's Edge, The Fugitives, book 5 of the Nell Bentley series. Nell Bentley is a character that I solely describe as if Indiana Jones and Ellen Ripley and Ellen Ripley and Indiana Jones had a love child, and she was orphaned and had to grow up with Mel from Firefly, and I forget the fourth person I referenced. God damn, I'm sorry, everybody. But Nell Bentley is just one of those characters. She's colorful, she's interesting, she's very smart, and so that was my number 1. So I see some new folks coming in here. So just to recap, there's my honorable mentions: Juliet Rose's Stitched Together, Catch the Earth, Until Death by Ray Nichols, and Language of Skeptics by S.M. Hillman. To hear my thoughts on all of these, you just have to go back and watch the rest of it. Fade to Black by Sarah J. Silver was my number 12. Snow Hunt was my number 11 by Bobby Nash. Hideki Smith, Demon Queller was my number 10. My number 9 was City of Day by October Santorelli. My number 8 was Calling the Devil Partner by Bob Magoo. My number 7 was Blue Flames by Madeline Dale. My number 6 was Never Still from Dragons, Patrick Dugan. My number 5 was Southern Sawad by Bob Magoo. My number 4 was Witch Magic from J.D. Blackrose. My number 3, Sarah Bond which is Summer's Blood. My number 2, Tourist Trapped by J.B. Velasquez. And my number 1, Fugitives by V.S. Holmes, a great science fiction book. So that is my list of 2023 of my favorite books. I read a lot of books this year, and I have to say, I'm giving out one more nod to, and that is to Mr. John Hartness and his team at Fallstaff Books. They had 4 of the top 12 books on my list this year. I think this was a banner year for Fallstaff Books. I love the diversity that they've taken on, but still, kind of all these books have a similar vein to them. So I love that. I love that Falstaff is creating a niche for themselves, a corner of a market, which is, no surprise. John is so smart, and how he gravitates to things he loves to read and write himself, and this all goes along with that. And so Falstaff really, really outdid themselves this year. I just want to give a huge shout out to them and let them know that they were my publisher of 2023, because 4 of their books, and and I didn't even touch the surface of the catalog that they released this year. One of which is, of course, John's book, Identity Theft, which I wanted to get to. I just, you just run out of time sometimes with the year, but I will read that probably within this year, and I'll review it. But I just got to say, it was a banner year for books. I'm really looking forward to 2024. I already got a book lined up to start off the year with that I'm real excited about, that you'll see a review here on this channel for, El Marie Wood's latest release, actually, and that'll be next week. So I'm reading that currently, and then I'll have a review up next week. I'm probably going to start doing video reviews here and dropping them on Fridays. I don't know. I'll probably do them live simply because I just don't have time to edit everything, and I'm about to go to Park City, so that's going to be fun. But that is my Indie Dozen books of 2023. I hope you guys go check all of those out. They're fantastic. They all represent a certain genre and a specific corner of the writing world, and but they all have something that I think is very, very vital. They all are well done, and they're all indie, and I love that. I love that so much, and I'm so proud of all my friends, and so honored to just absorb and learn from them, and just, I mean, you all amaze me how well you write and how much you do, and it's so brilliant, and I'm so looking forward to 2024, and reading more of your stuff and putting it out there and getting the world to know who you are and what you do, because you deserve it. Because, as you know, it is always time to go indie now. And so, before my nose runs off of my face, I'm going to duck out of here in a manner of speaking. And like I said, go check out all those books. And thank you so much for joining me. And we'll see you again, actually next week, next Sunday, season premiere of This Week in Indies. Everybody come check that out. That should be a really, really great time. Same channel, same time. So come check us out for that, and we'll see you then. And yes, I'm glad you did too. And yay, I love you all. So thank you so much. And all right, this time I mean it. It's always time to go indie now. Oh, let me pull that one off of there real quick so that we can. Oh my God, what a mess I am today. Sorry, everybody. You're welcome, Julia. Thank you. And don't forget to like. Yes, like, subscribe, do all those wonderful things that you love to do. All right. It's always time to go indie now. Bye.